Welcome. These will be my thoughts on X-Men 97, Season 2, Episode 2, A Force to be Reckoned with. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for both iterations of the, both the original 90 show and the 97 version. Leading up to and including this episode, I haven't watched past it yet. And I think that pretty much, absolutely love this episode. Let's dive right in. So I'm gonna try to keep this chronological. We'll see how well it goes. But yeah, I quite appreciated this. So the opening scene, very, very effective. Establishing that. Okay, I'm gonna do what I can to not mess up because there's two new X teams in this one, but I believe X-Force are led by Cable, and X-Factor, I guess Havoc is the leader of them. And yeah, I will say, it's been 20 years since I read those comics, but I do remember both of those teams as being kind of like darker versions of the X-Men. And yeah, from what I recall, this is a very accurate representation of what they're both like. And I acknowledge, obviously, we've seen. Actually, did we see X Factor? I think we saw X Factor before. I know we saw X Force before this episode. Anyway, or am I mixing that up? Whatever. But yeah, this thing of like, these teenagers running scared, and those of us who recognize him immediately are like, oh, that's definitely Multiple Man. Even before the reveal at the end of the sequence. But yeah, this thing of, they're trying to run, and there's this thing of like, oh well, the X mansion really is gone. Where else are we gonna go? That's where mutants were safe. And then, X Factor show up and say we're definitely the good guys, which that is I forget, was it Cyclops? It was someone who's there was yeah, I believe it was Cyclops who said that to Roberto, I think. Did they also say it in the original show? To Jubilee, maybe? I forget. But and that is the thing, like, lots of people say that they're the good guys. Not all of them are right about that. And yeah, I mean, I guess this is, I really did pick the perfect time to start a rewatch of The Gifted, because right now I'm not very many episodes, like, well, 4, 5, something like that. But yeah, that also has this thing of like, oh, we're the good guys because we're taking these mutants off the streets, and it's got Polaris, and yeah. But yeah, I thought they did a really great job, because it's like, yeah, what if the X-Men worked for the government, as some say they should, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of impossible at this point in time in history to look at something like this and not draw parallels, and I don't think that's at all accidental. I really appreciate, like, I wish they did that more with the MCU, because I do think some of the time, at least when they do, it really works. But yeah, I mean, with this and with some of their Star Wars, both Disney properties, I might as well come around and say, with Andor, yeah, like, they really do stare right in the face of these actual important, current day kind of issues. Yeah, X Factor, yeah, they really, it's very similar to ice, you know. And let's see. I mean, there's kids in cages. What do you want? I'm supposed to not see the signs. Anyway, let's see. I guess that does, and that you know, yeah. Sometimes when Disney goes for this kind of catharsis, it really lands. I can only speak for myself, but boy, was that satisfying watching someone break out of and not just themselves, but break others out of such a facility. And yeah, it is of course tiny bit uh, something that it's happening with help from the inside. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're not saying, oh, you know, I'm sure there's good people working for ICE. Because at this point, like, no, that's just not, like, listen, that's, I can be an idealist sometimes too. But I'm sorry, if you, at present moment, are still working for ICE, like, you can't really justify it. Like, resign immediately, please. I don't know. If you think you can do it without hurting people, try to tear it down from the inside, I guess. But like, if yeah, short of you know, those are your options, I guess. If you really want to be able to look in the mirror and honestly tell yourself that you're still a good person. But I do appreciate also Polaris is one of those characters who, you know, yeah, one of a number of comic book characters where sometimes they're good, sometimes not so much. But anyway, that does bring us to the yeah, that was I love that they changed the oh right, sorry, before the intro we have the bit with the recruitment because the title is X-Force, not X Factor for this episode. But yeah, you know, I do like that Jubilee has managed to compel Sunspot to be a gamer. I have on at least one occasion taken some pride in getting someone into video games because it's just fun. You know, like as long as you're not wasting a lot of money or time or you know getting overly competitive or such. And that's stuff you can say about so many hobbies. You know, like obviously, you know, yeah, I've already made my point. And Jubilee is actually the one saying, listen, do we have to play video games all the time? Which, like, okay, so, Jubilee, I'm just going to tell you, I think you're probably lucky that Skrulls have not played a very large role so far in this animated continuity, because that would be a dead giveaway, I feel like. Anyway, I think, yeah, yeah, Cable shows up, and yeah, calls on them, and fantastic cut of the, you know, so does this team have a name? And then X-Force, and seeing all these new the intros and the whole just phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. And they're able to reuse a couple of things because you know Cable fighting Apocalypse still relevant. But yeah, I like that now it's Cable on one side and Apocalypse on the other instead of Xavier and Magneto. And I yeah, I like the whole mission in Rio and this thing of like, you know, what's with the dancing? You told us to blend in. Now that I've listened to more of it, I feel more comfortable talking about the voice for Psylocke. I still absolutely love it. I really appreciate that they actually, because this is something that, so I do want to acknowledge that this is not a character that they've taken that many runs at getting right. There's a school of thought that says that in live action it's never really been attempted. Um, I found it, didn't run it, but yeah, one of the things that because Psylocke is one of those characters, like, she is difficult to get right, and I mean, so far this continuity hasn't tried to explain her background, which is smart because it's who like, if you thought, like, yeah, it's around the same degree as complicated as Cables. So, you know, we got Cables, maybe we'll get Psylocke, especially now that she's playing a larger role. But the fact that she's got a British accent is something that some adaptations don't get, you know. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it just kind of it shows you did your homework, you know. And yeah, I love the way that we get to see a successful mission from X-Force in this you know, yeah, the first scene after the opening sequence, you know. And yeah, like, they are quite the efficient team, and we do get this kind of Black Ops thing, you know. They are saying and doing things that we would not see the X-Men do in this continuity, at least. um I acknowledge that there are versions of the X-Men that are also, it's kind of more, you know, dark. And yeah, I cannot put into words how good it is to see Psylocke done, in my opinion, justice. The leaping off the building and landing on a car, and the swords at the, oh, so freaking cool. Absolutely loved it. Exactly what I wanted from an adaptation. I know I say this a lot, but it is a long list. She is one of my favorite characters from the comics. And I think that pretty much brings us to the let's see. Yeah, so they managed to capture him, to capture War, and tie him to a tree. And yeah, the thing about, you know, well, he's not going to talk willingly. And right, I also continue to really love the voice for Archangel. I really think it's spot on. And yeah, uh, Psylocke doesn't ask permission. And I appreciate that it's called out, because, like, yeah, that is, you know, obviously, I'm I'm not saying that telepathy is real, but if you're gonna do something that, you know, yeah, it's there are similar things in the real world where you should ask consent, or you should get enthusiastic consent. But yeah, and you know, Jubilee's like, aren't you're supposed to, you know, and Gabe's like, have manners. And I love the thing about, you know, well, the X-Men wouldn't do this. They're not here right now. You know, that's the, yeah, because that's the thing. It's a slippery slope. You have to be careful about how you justify things and what you justify. And yeah, I think that does. Yeah, and of course the thing with the diamonds. You know, yeah, immediately. Once again, if you know, a lot of us knew, soon as there were diamonds visually, that has to be Emma Frost. And yeah, this is such a perfect way, because that, again, like, there was some really great stuff with her in the original show. I'm not saying that the season one of this show should have had, you know, she wasn't in it that much. There was a lot of stuff going on, but this, I would say, is probably the most accurate adaptation I've seen. I've never seen her this accurately done outside of just comics. You know, just this thing of, yeah, she lured them in. She set a trap, or she participated in the trap. I don't know if she. It might have been X Factor's idea, but yeah, that is a quite good. And let's see. I think that does bring us to the. But yeah, and then they execute him, War, and the thing about, you know, we can't do this, and then the thing about, well, we're gonna prevent a lot of deaths, you know. And that, once again, that is something, you know, beware of people who say we have no choice but to do, You know, this extreme thing that cannot be taken back. And again, there's that thing about, but you were brought back, yeah, by Rogue, and she's not around anymore. So they're using the X-Men being gone to justify this. And you know, it's one of those cases where I know it's corny, but please think about what the person you're doing it for would have thought about what you're doing now. Unless that person would have been in favor of it, in which case that kind of falls apart. No, I'm just kidding. But the in a lot of cases, that person would not have wanted you to do that. I think that pretty much... Let's see. There's at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to do. Say. Uh, no, yeah, I guess, yeah, that's, yeah, so they go to the, oh, right, I also appreciated the bit with the news coverage, you know, the thing about, and yeah, Val is in charge, and yeah, they are, you know, they say later they're the ones with authority, and that's all that matters, which, boy, that's a red flag. And yeah, we have the, yeah, it's that thing of like, you know, so War helped make this happen, and yeah, once he was no longer necessary, he was just sacrificed. And so obviously in real life, you know, Apocalypse and his horsemen are not real, but it is true that sometimes when there is war and such, or just, you know, lead up to it, yeah, like there's someone powerful standing to benefit who's like hiding and influencing things. I'm not being like conspiratorial. I'm just saying, you know, you can read up on it, and you'll find that there are, you know, and I mean in real life, it's not necessarily, you know, in this, it is, you know, this thing of yeah, Apocalypse's motives are very different, but in real life, you know, sometimes it's expansion of, you know, territory. It might be colonialism. Sometimes it's other kinds of lust for power, greed, that sort of thing. But yeah, you know, whenever you see a movement towards war, it's really, really good to try to see, wait, who would benefit from this, and are they, you know, trying to trick us into doing this? Because like so often, you know, it does not at all benefit, and is not really the will of regular people before the powerful people manipulate. And yeah, I really appreciate that this comes out, you know, because there's a lot of media for like 14-year-olds and such that is like, oh, you know, look at this war. Not as, you know, not all of them. I'm not saying all of them have to, but not all of them do acknowledge, you know, the causes. And yeah. Anyway, the I'm glad that this is now rated TV-14. The original was TV-7 or something, TV-6, I guess, whatever. Don't think that one would have gotten away with Emma Frost saying that she would like to make Cable bark. But once again, I'm sorry, like, you don't have to like it, but that feels like something she would have said in the comics, 100%. Like, that is, and it is also, you know, I think it was the Nostalgia chick who pointed out, or wait, does she go exclusively by Lindsay Ellis? But it was back when she was, had that title. She made a video pointing out, so we have to call Hellfire Club Circle Club, but Emma Frost can still be wearing the lingerie, you know, it is really silly, like, and anyway, I think that does, yeah, and you know, she's like, well, I'll do it for a cut, you know, so take me to that place that definitely still has expensive stuff that I could get. Yes, sirree. And yeah, just really, really clever, because like, yeah, she knew that Apocalypse would already have been done, and she was just getting paid. And if she hid, then yeah, just this thing of so the X Factor essentially work for they do work for the government now, and they paid a civilian to trick to set this trap, and that again, like, things similar to this have happened, and yeah, power likes to use divide and conquer. Because if you really think about it, like, Emma could be working with the others, the with X-Force. And yeah, I know I've said it before, I do really love these, female villain characters. This is a progressive channel. We support women's rights and women's wrongs. It's not saying, oh, like, it could, I think it would have been frustrating if by the end of the episode, I mean, they maybe sort of do it with Polaris, but, with Emma, there's not like, what have I done? Because that's not really Emma Frost. That's, again, I do think it works for Polaris. But yeah, I really appreciated that. And this thing of, like, there's no, like, she's not justifying it. She's just like, I'm getting paid. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, okay, you had a cause and all that. Yeah, yeah. I'm making bank. Like, do you realize? Yeah, that was fantastic. And it's one of those things of, like, it's fine to have female villains. It's just important to not have those be the only women or the only women with power and agency in your story, because then it can, like, get, massaged. Well, it doesn't really take anything to get a bigot going anyway, but, it's, yeah. And yeah, if you are a, a young woman or a girl watching this, like, you maybe, at most think Emma's cool, but you hopefully don't imitate her. But you've got Polaris, who realizes she's on the wrong side of something and is even grateful for being reminded and does the right thing. You've got Jubilee, who literally gives up video games to do the right thing. That is something that, yeah, not everyone would do that. And I guess that does bring us to the big fight, which just phenomenal. That part where multiple mans multiplies around Psylocke, and she's just like, I only need one of me. Now that's Psylocke. So badass. Just, yeah. And yeah, like, I felt like, as usual in this continuity, they made sure everyone got something cool to do. And the choreography continues to be absolutely spectacular. Yeah, I really appreciated that Jubilee actually was why they were able to, as many of them as were able to escape. And I think that pretty much brings us to, yeah. And so they leave, and Cable points out, I've trained both, you and her. He says to Sunspot, she can handle herself, and it's true. And I also did really feel like, we've seen her use her power well before. This definitely felt like Cable training, absolutely. And he was able to build on, like, obviously the X-Men have also trained her a bunch, but these tactics felt more Cable than X-Men. And let's see, yeah, the interrogation where, it's, yeah, fantastic smash cut of, like, we have to go back, Cable, we have to go back. And then, they didn't even come back for you. Which, once again, like, I'm sorry, that really feels, okay, so that's not exclusively Ice, but that is, like, very much, like, yeah, cop type kind of, yeah. I liked her calling Havoc a, what was it, B-grade Cyclops? I mean, in the live-action movies, Havoc definitely way more charismatic than their version of Cyclops. But so far in this continuity, yeah, I would definitely rate Cyclops higher. And I guess that pretty much... Yeah, so he takes her to the cells after, she's got the moment with Polaris. And I am not going to pretend like I recognize absolutely everyone, but it was cool seeing... I mean, those are definitely... So I need to be careful how I say the following, because technically what they were referred to in the comics originally is now considered ableist, sanist language. So I've heard them before referred to as the triplets. The three... Is that a spoiler? There are at least three that we see in this episode that look almost exactly alike in the cells. So yeah, and I think that's enough clues to... Yeah. And yeah, this thing of, so Polaris goes in there and, takes out the camera and says, I can buy you 5 minutes. What you do with them is up to you. And yeah, those were some good 5 minutes. Good job, Jubilee. You that was yeah. And yeah, it was just so freaking cool. The part where she slides the sunglasses down and blows bubblegum and is just leaping and bounding and firing off the fireworks, and she frees all the others, and just it's awesome. Just absolutely loved it. And I guess that does pretty much bring us to... So yeah, she radios in and says she needs, she's... What did she say? She's not alone, or she's bringing something, and yeah, that was awesome. And it does, of course, very much get them some much unneeded heat. Maybe that can help melt the ice. And let's see. Although I guess in real life, if you want to melt ice, you kind of just have to film them and not go along with absolutely everything they say. That should probably not be the case with people who have badges and guns and whose identities are kept secret. Now, I am not calling for violence against them. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you work for the government and you have a gun, there should be accountability. That used to be something that conservative Americans were proud of. And I'm willing to acknowledge there are countries out there worse than America, but how much time you want to wait to see if, America can catch up to them before you protest? Once again, I'm not calling for violence. That is something that we far leftists have been asked to clarify a lot since Charlie Kirk was killed. I don't take any pleasure in his death. I really feel bad for the children who now don't have their biological father. But I do think it is interesting how Republicans tried to basically act like he was the second coming, tried to martyr him, and it spectacularly backfired. Which I don't know. There's a lot of leftists who could have warned you about that one if you ever listen to us. I'm just saying. I'm just pointing out facts, because there were people who were immediately like, I don't think this is going to work in the long run. You can go back and check. I'm afraid I forget their names, but there were people who were immediately saying, this, oof, you're not thinking about the long term of this at all. No Monday morning quarterbacking here. Anyway, I think... I'm not pretending like I was one of them. I did not foresee just how badly that would go. Anyway, yes, so I guess that does pretty much get us to that last little bit. So yeah, that is also such a cool plane that the X-Force team have. And yeah, they fly, and we have the thing about, Jubilee's the last to leap. she looks before she does, and she fires a bunch of fireworks, presumably polluting the reflecting pool. Is she gonna have to go to prison for years over that? Oh wait, no. That's only if you like lightly touch the inside of it, because they're looking for scapegoats. But yeah, that was really, really cool because she knew. And the thing about, she walks up and like she picks up the collar and then she throws it. That was perfect. And yeah, firing all the fireworks, and he flies in and catches her, and she's not even surprised. Just she knew. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I could imagine that's something that there was a conversation about off screen. Maybe it was specifically between these two. Maybe Cable mentioned, "Hey, how far away can your fireworks be seen? Because that could probably you could like arrange a rescue or something, because we don't need to see that. We just need to see the confidence and the fact that it pays off. Just wonderful, loving their relationship, and didn't mind getting the previously on showing us that he saved her before at the end of season 1 as well. After at first, leaving when with Bastion, and I think that does pretty much bring us to the yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next. So I forget if it's already aired or not. I haven't watched past this episode yet, but I could. So let's see. This was episode 2 of the season, and it was present day. The first episode was in the future, but it was specifically the part of the time stream where Cable was still a wow teenager, I guess. Yeah. So I could imagine that we will next episode maybe get some yeah, I could imagine we'll get the other part of the future timeline, the one with you know the let's see, yeah, that's the one with the teen apocalypse, I want to say. And maybe that will also end with a victory, and then we'll get some present day stuff. Maybe for the rest of the season, I'm not entirely sure. I will say I was a little bit surprised that we only got the one episode in the... I guess it's not impossible they'll revisit, but by the end of this episode, that team of X-Men have been sent back. And I guess I'll just briefly note, I'm not the first person to point out, but yeah, they are obviously playing on the nostalgia, this thing of like, the X-Men have to go back to the 90s, like, because that's part of the reason why the show even got made. That's why they put 97 in the title. I think that does pretty much cover it. Yeah, very moving, the goodbye in the future scene. And I did really appreciate that Cable does make the right call. And yeah, it is this thing of like he is already really willing to go above and beyond to save the world. And yeah, I think that is it for this one. So once again, it'll probably be about a week before I do another episode of this show. And can hardly wait. Yeah, and there at the end, we get the bit about, the, yeah, like we just don't have time, eh? Because like time travel, and yeah, ultimately they have to go back to the present. But for a second there, I was wondering if They were going to prep them for surgery for a time transplant.